Hi, everyone. Leslie Zumsky here from Larkin. Hope everyone is well. Hope everyone is healthy. During this time, we all, of course, wish that we could be enjoying events in Larkin Square, literally right across, looking out the window, hoping for much better times ahead for all of us and for all of you. In the meantime, we thought, how can we bring a little bit of Larkin Square to you? And we looked to our Larkin Square author series, which we've done in conjunction with Talking Leaves Books. And of course, all of our events. We appreciate the great support of KeyBank and Independent Health. So we've reached out to several of our favorite authors from the past. Some of them happen to have Western New York connections, and thought it's a good time to meet up via Zoom and share with you how they're doing during this time, what they're working on, maybe something about one of their past books. And I know many of you have probably found, myself included, that reading is a really meditative time. It's also a time to look to books of historical fiction or history can help shed some light on what's going on right now and how we will come through this. So you can still order books from Talking Leaves Books. You can go on their website. We'll include a link in the blog. And I've been in touch with Jonathan, so he's sending out books. They can deliver them. And we hope that you enjoy the series. So up first is Lauren Belfer. It was wonderful to sit down with her. Lauren's one of our most returning authors, and so it seems right to start out this series with Lauren. We hope you enjoy this, and we hope you're well. Thank you. So Lauren, how is it going in New York City?
Well, first let me say that I'm thrilled to be here talking to you, Leslie, and it takes me back to Buffalo in a virtual way because I miss Buffalo. I was last there in February to see my mom, and I had hoped to go in March, and of course none of us can go anywhere. So this way I'm living in Buffalo for a few minutes virtually. My husband and I are doing well, and all our friends are doing fine, but it's hard. The news every day is really horrifying here, and I know a lot of people are really suffering. And we live in the village, everything is closed. The neighborhood is usually so bustling, and it's just deserted. So it's been hard to deal with from day to day, but as I say, we're managing, and so many people are having such a hard and tragic time. My heart really goes out to them.
Are you able to write, or how is writing, obviously life has changed dramatically in this time of not just, as you said, not being out walking, enjoying the hustle and bustle, but how has it affected you professionally? Do you have a new way? Is it hard? I've heard some writers are just having a difficult time writing. How has this affected you, if at all?
Well, Michael and I are lucky. We work at home anyway. So that part was, there was no transition there. We're home anyway. But I must say, for me, it's been hard to focus. And I've always gotten up pretty early, try to be at my desk by 6:30. And so I still have that time when my mind is open and I can focus. But I tell you, once it's time for breakfast and there's the newspaper at the door, the rest of the day is hard. And I read a wonderful piece in the Times the other day that we're all in a state of mourning in a way, no matter what our profession. There's been so many changes in our lives that we all feel so kind of discombobulated of what our lives once were. Will they go back to being that way again? So it's been hard to do creative work, but I'm pushing along. At least I have that time in the early morning hours when my mind is relatively free. And then, then I think, well, maybe I just won't read the paper at all. But then I feel I have to know what's going on. What if there's something I have to react to do something? Run out and go shopping again. So sort of in a bind, back and forth.
It is. I found, as I know many people, reading to actually be a very meditative thing. This morning I read for a little while with my cup of tea and just silence. It's so tempting to, always have NPR on or put on the news or things like that, or listening to a lot of podcasts. And then at a certain point, you're like, all right, I have to stop this clutter. And reading is really very meditative. What are you reading lately? And of course, we want to tell people how you could still get books, Lauren's books and other authors' books through Talking Leaves.
Well, I'm reading Hilary Mantel's new historical novel, The Mirror and the Light. And, I have to laugh because it got mixed reviews here in America, and a lot of the reviewers said that it was way too long and there were way too many details. But I find it at this particular moment, I love that it's too long, and I love there's so many details because, as you say, it becomes a kind of meditation. And maybe I can only focus for 5 pages or 10 pages, but those pages are really alive. And I recommend the book very much, and I'm sure that Talking Leaves can send it to people. I'm so glad that Talking Leaves is able to continue functioning. So many small businesses aren't able to, but I've heard that you have the website going, they're able to ship books. So that really is a wonderful thing for Buffalo, to have a treasure of a store like that.
It is, and we will include the link and all the information. So I have reached out to Jonathan, who all of you know from our book talks at Talking Leaves, the owner, and so we'll include the link on the website. You can email him, and you can order right through the web, or you can call the store, and they can deliver, or they'll ship, and they can order any book for you. So that is a wonderful way to support our local businesses. Lauren, when you and I were emailing the other day, you mentioned A Fierce Radiance has really taken on a whole new meaning, and there's a whole new interest in the book. Do you want to, I know many of the people listening to this have read it, but actually another joy of this time is rewatching a favorite movie, a show, and also rereading a book. So might be a book you want to read for the second time or for the first time. Why don't you share a little bit about the book?
So this is A Fierce Radiance. I think the cover is so beautiful. It's a picture of Grand Central Station in New York during the Second World War. So A Fierce Radiance takes place in New York during the war. It focuses on a fictional photojournalist for Life magazine. Her name is Claire. I based her on real life female photojournalists from the war years, primarily Margaret Burke White. And at the beginning of the novel, Claire is sent on assignment to the Rockefeller Institute in New York City, where they are testing a new drug, what they hope will be a miracle drug, which turns out to be penicillin. And the novel takes off from there, exploring among many other things in life in New York during the war years. But this scientific thread in the book explores the development of penicillin, the mass production during the war years, and the way the pharmaceutical companies came together to work together to create this miracle drug for the troops primarily. It was called in those days a weapon of war because it was to help the American troops during the war. And the process, it reminds me of nowadays the way scientists all over the world are coming together, and pharmaceutical companies all over the world sharing information, trying to develop a vaccine or some other treatment for the disease that we're fighting now. And something very moving to me was that when I was researching this novel, I read the memoirs of many, many of the scientists who were mature during the war years and working during the war years. And so many of them talked about the influenza epidemic of 1918, 1919 as being a pivotal event in their lives. And I went back because of that to read about what that epidemic had been like and what daily life was like for people in those days. And I included what I discovered in the novel. And of course, now to reread that material in light of what we're all experiencing is very, very powerful to me and moving. The influenza epidemic of those years was pretty much forgotten. Afterward, I think it was so horrible that people just had to push it out of their minds. It was much worse than what we're going through now. So they estimate 650,000 Americans died. during the epidemic, which is astonishing. But what they found was that in those cities where people really did practice social distancing, where they were forced to do it, the death rates were much, much lower. So that shows, for, you know, as hard as it is for us in our lives now, it really does make a difference in the end. My characters in the book grew up in Philadelphia. That was one of the worst hit cities. And the churches and synagogues actually sent carts around the neighborhoods to collect the bodies of the dead, because the hospitals and ambulances were so overwhelmed. So thinking about that, you know, it puts it in perspective, and the history that we've all had as Americans, even if our ancestors might not have been here and we weren't born, of course, but we've been there before and we've come out of it. And in a way that should give us courage. I hope that we have faced challenges like this before.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
No, that's just so, I mean, I'm going to get the book. I did read it before, obviously, but it is very moving, and many things that you just said resonate about, again, what we're hearing about, especially in New York City. Lauren, anything else that you'd like to share about what, I know you don't like to talk about what you're writing right now, unless you're changing your mind on that.
No, well, I can say that my husband is in the process of reading it, the draft of my new book. So I have a whole draft. And Michael, I keep him at a distance while I'm working, because I want him to be able to look at something fresh when I feel it's ready to look at it. He's in the other room right now reading. So I feel a little anxious about that, because as you know, I'm very protective of the work in progress, and because you can change your mind as you go along. And what I find, if you talk to people about it, or you give them something, people want to be helpful, of course, and supportive, and then they say something that could make you veer off in another direction. So that's why I'm so protective of the work in progress. But now he's in the other room, and really I'm very nervous about what his reaction is going to be, because we're very honest with each other. You know, I read his work in progress too, and if we weren't honest, there wouldn't be a point to sharing the work. But at the same time, you know, you work all these years, and he could say something that makes me feel horrible, but we'll see. Anyway, that's where things stand on my work.
Well,
so.
It's so nice that you can have your colleague and your husband, and you can share the space. And Lauren, thank you so much for taking this time to talk to us. I really look forward, I know everyone looks forward to, so I look out the window right over at Larkin Square, looking forward to seeing you again here in person. Tell Michael I look forward to sharing a beer with him downstairs in the hydraulic hearth. I know he loves his craft beers. In fact,
Michael loves the hydraulic hearth, so he looks forward to that too. And thank you, Leslie, for all you do for Buffalo and for the way you've transformed Larkin Square. And it's been such an honor for me to come back year after year, and it's always bigger and better, and so many more people there every single year. It's just growing and growing, and that's wonderful for Larkin Square, but it also reflects what's going on in Buffalo.
Yes.
And how everyone in Buffalo was so excited about the city and so eager to participate and be together and forge a future together. This is really inspiring to me, what you've done and what it means to the city.
Thanks. It's really a whole team. And Lauren, I love that you come back to Buffalo often. Your mom is still here, but you also come back and work with Explore Buffalo and support Buffalo Seminary, your school, and just you really, it's so awesome how you lived a wonderful life and live a wonderful life in New York City, but you've never forgotten your hometown. And we really appreciate that. And we can't wait to see you again. And hopefully in the future, we'll also be talking about your new book when it's published.
I hope so. Thank you very much, Leslie.
Thanks, Lauren. Stay well.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.